Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bell to Bell. I'm your host, Nick Belsky, and we have a phenomenal show for you guys today. First and foremost, it was made official last Friday. We heard a little bit more about it on Monday, but we are going to get the triple threat match between Roman Reigns, Seth frickin' Rollins, and CM Punk. I'll discuss what we've seen so far, what we could see in the next couple of weeks leading up to WrestleMania, and why I believe there is a clear-cut favorite heading into this triple threat matchup. But after that, we'll discuss a historic night, because yesterday on NXT, we saw something that we have never seen in the history of WWE. That is Stephanie Vaquer doing things that we've never seen before. We'll talk about her, and we'll talk about the NXT women's division staying absolutely red hot. And we'll close out this show with a truncated version of a top 5 that we like to do on this show. It's going to be a top 3, and that is who are the top 3 champions in WWE right now. But before we get started, as we always do, we want to remind everybody that if you enjoy our content, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe on YouTube at Nick Belsky, or if you prefer an audio version, you can catch that on Spotify by searching Bell to Bell. Let's kick things off with a little discussion about the biggest triple threat match that we have seen in quite some time. It is one of the most, or at least should be, one of the most highly anticipated matchups that we've seen in the 21st century. Maybe the 2020s. Maybe not the 21st century. We've had some pretty big ones. Rock versus Cena. Rock versus Cena 2. Let's not get cart before the horse. Let's not go too deep into hyperbole on this episode. One of the biggest matchups that we've seen in this decade. Let's say that. We finally got the graphic on Friday. Triple H put it out on all socials that it's Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. Now, this is a matchup that whenever the first breadcrumbs were dropped, that this was the direction that they were going to go in for WrestleMania, a lot of people were upset. And a lot of people remain upset on the internet. But again, that is not the totality of the opinions of the fan base, because it's just a small, very vocal fraction. And yet, I continue to see people saying this is just a handful of singles feuds that they're meshing together because they have nothing better to do with them. I think that when you look at this, and I understand people want to see, hey, it could have been Rollins versus Reigns. That is more than good enough to withstand as a WrestleMania match. Could have been Reigns versus Punk. That 1000% could hold up as a singles WrestleMania match. But if you put these 3 combustible elements together, what I think you're going to get is a triple threat that is going to go down and going to be more memorable than any of those singles matchups would eventually end up being. And I think you're starting to see that. The 3 of them in the ring last week together in Bologna, Italy, the energy was palpable. And part of that is the European crowds, because they're always ridiculous. But part of that is just in general, having these 3 be in the ring together, staring each other down, getting ready to do business, getting ready to do battle, whatever you want to say about it. It is a marquee matchup all the way around. It is the picture perfect triple threat, which is why I think it is 1000% the correct move for WrestleMania 41. Now, here's the thing, and I said this on the intro to the episode. To me, it feels like there is a clear-cut favorite, at least as of right now. Now, to me, there also is a lot that's going to have to happen for me to change my opinion on this. But right now, it feels like the clear-cut favorite is CM Punk. And I could go about this in many different ways, but the way I'm going to go about this is process of elimination. I think Roman Reigns is the least likely of these 3 to walk away victorious at WrestleMania, which is crazy to say. Even saying it, it feels like I should be gritting my teeth while I allow those words to come out of my mouth, because he's the OTC. He's the face of the company. Whether he's holding a belt or not, he is WWE. And yet I can't shake this feeling that he's not going to let his emotions sit on the sideline so he can take care of business in Vegas. It feels like all he wants is revenge. All he wants is vengeance on both CM Punk and Seth Rollins. He wants vengeance and revenge on CM Punk for eliminating him from the Royal Rumble and ruining his chance to go after Cody Rhodes to get his belt back, or even if he wanted to go after Gunther. It probably would have been Cody Rhodes, but I digress at that point because it never got to that point. And he wants revenge on Seth Rollins for, well, I mean, outside of just simply saying everything that has happened since Rollins stuffed a chair in the back of Roman Reigns all those years ago, more short-term history because Seth Rollins took him out of action, made him ineligible for the Elimination Chamber, and ending any chance that he had of going back after that world title that he had set his sights on after he won back the Ula Fala on the debut episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. So Roman wants revenge. The problem with that is when Roman wants revenge, he is one of the worst people in the history of WWE of getting said revenge because he lets his emotions get the best of him. Case in point, WrestleMania 40, Night 2, Philadelphia, Lincoln Financial Field. Roman Reigns has a steel chair. He can bash Cody Rhodes' brains in and extend the longest world title reign that we have seen in the modern era, or he can give one final shot to a broken down Seth Rollins who has no knee, has no back, but he is wearing Shield gear and he has done a lot to Roman Reigns. What does Reigns choose to do? He chooses to go after Rollins, somebody who in that moment should have been insignificant, should have just been an ant on the sideline. Rollins can't do anything. Rollins can't affect this match more than he can walk across the ring right now, which was nothing. But Roman Reigns let his emotions and let his need for revenge get the best of him. And it only ended up costing him everything. It cost him the title. It eventually, for a short period, cost him his family. It cost him the Ula Fala. It cost him everything. It all leads back to his need for revenge on Seth Rollins. That hasn't gone away. That's going to be fresh in his mind. Now you add on the fact that he wants revenge on CM Punk too, and they're both going to be in the ring. To me, there's no way the OTC can remain singularly focused and come away with a win in this one. And then there's Seth Rollins, who I would put second in this list, which means to me, the overwhelming favorite is CM Punk. Seth Rollins wants to end CM Punk. That has been his mission statement of 2025. It was what he said on the Raw debut, whenever they went one-on-one for the first time since Punk came back. It's what he said going into the Rumble that, hey, I want to end your hopes of main eventing WrestleMania for a world title. So he went into the Royal Rumble with the singular mission of, yeah, I'd like to win, but really I just want to make sure that he loses. Same thing in the Elimination Chamber, to the point in which it was Punk and Cena, and who ended up costing CM Punk? Seth Rollins, who was already eliminated. So he's going to go to the lengths of the earth to simply stop CM Punk. The problem with that is that Roman Reigns is also in the match, and that is going to blindside Seth Rollins and not allow him to be singularly focused on the task at hand. What we heard out of CM Punk on Monday is that he is the exact opposite of all of this. He doesn't want revenge. He doesn't want to end Seth Rollins. What he wants, he's not going to get. And that's a world title match at WrestleMania. So this is what he has in front of him. He wants to take care of business. And that makes him the most dangerous of the trio going into WrestleMania. Now, the other question about this match is, will it main event night 1? You can put it in pen, signed, sealed, delivered. Night 2 main event is Cody Rhodes and John Cena. If you want any more of an indication of that, the last 2 Monday Night Raws, the first 30 minutes has been John Cena yelling at the crowd and then Cody Rhodes yelling at John Cena. We'll get to that feud. We'll get to those discussions. We'll get to those promos at the end of this episode, but that is going to be the Night 2 main event. The question is anything going to catch up to Reigns, Rollins, and Punk to surpass them to go on last on Night 1 of WrestleMania? I don't think so. You could make an argument that Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Bianca Belair has a reason to be there, or at the very least, a reason to be in the conversation. You could argue that Gunther versus Jey Uso, because Jey Uso did win the Royal Rumble, has a right to be there as well. But when you look at the totality of this build to WrestleMania, the two feuds that have gone from Raw to SmackDown seamlessly every single week have been Cena Cody, but as we mentioned, that's already got night 2, and now it's Roman, Rollins, and Punk. It's going to be the night 1 main event, whether you like it or not. And the names, the star power, it warrants it. Like I said, Rhea Io Bianca, is it worthy of a WrestleMania main event? Yes. The story that they are weaving together is worthy of a WrestleMania main event, especially when, not if, this isn't a prediction, this is a spoiler, shout out to Paul Heyman, when Io Sky becomes the sympathetic babyface that defies all odds and beats two powerhouses in Bianca and Rhea at WrestleMania. It would be worthy of a main event. But something tells me that the golden child in Roman Reigns, that the Messiah in Seth Rollins, and that the Enigma in CM Punk, all of those three together is the perfect storm for shutting everything shy of heel Cena, babyface superhero Cody. That's what's going to happen. So this is your night 1 main event, and CM Punk, in my opinion, will be your winner. Let's move over and talk a little bit about something that already happened and not something that's going to happen. And that is the history that we saw on NXT on Tuesday night. Stephanie Vaquer makes history, becoming the first person to successfully defend multiple titles on one night. She opened up the show retaining her NXT Women's Championship against Jaida Parker in a matchup that Jordynne Grace got a little too involved in, and yet a roll-up victory for Vaquer and a retention of the NXT Women's Championship in a solid 10-minute match. And then Vaquer closed out the show in the main event, retaining her NXT North American Championship against Fallon Henley. Vaquer makes history and continues to be on a rocket ship trajectory throughout NXT, and eventually you would have to imagine to the top of the card on the main roster. She has quickly ascended this company and become one of its most marketable stars, and she is certainly the face right now of the NXT brand. And here's the thing about that. Because yes, they have some very big names down there. Yes, they have some people that are doing some very tremendous work. Obafemi as NXT champion, great. Trick Williams and this new has a mean streak behind him, a little bit fed up with the bullcrap version of himself, maybe part of that other new group that just joined. That version of Trick Williams, very good. Ricky Saints has been great since joining NXT. But there is no bigger star right now on that brand than Stephanie Vaquer. And that is in large part due to how good she has been since she came to WWE. But I think a lot of credit for that also has to go to the rest of that division. Because in my opinion, that division right now is one of, if not the best divisions in all of professional wrestling. I think it goes toe-to-toe with any division on Raw or SmackDown. I think it is miles ahead of any other division on NXT, to be completely blunt. And I think it goes toe-to-toe with the best divisions that AEW has to offer. The way that the NXT women have been able to entertain and tell stories throughout 2025 so far is top tier. And because they have three things. First, it's the in-ring ability. What we've seen, I mean, whether it's Vengeance Day, the fatal four-way that we got between Roxanne and Stephanie and Julia and Cora Jade, or whether it be what we saw last night, even in the tag match, Gigi Dolan, Tatum Paxley, getting a huge victory over Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, who are destined for massive things, who should probably end up with the women's tag team titles at some point here in the next couple of months. The in-ring ability, the in-ring talent, the in-ring matchups have been phenomenal. That's number one. Number two, it's the star power. Stephanie Vaquer is obviously the figurehead of this division, but you also have Julia. You also have, for the time being, Roxanne Perez, who is on herself on a trajectory to be one of the biggest stars in the WWE. You have Jordan Grace that just came over. So you have the top tier star power. You also have the depth. And that's item number 3. We already mentioned Gigi Dolan, Tatum Paxley, solid showing yesterday. Lash legend Jakara Jackson are phenomenal. Sol Ruka, Jaida Parker, who did well for herself yesterday. Zarya has been entertaining since she came over. Fallon Henley, I think, deserves a lot of credit. Cora Jade is also in that mix. There is so many interesting characters in NXT's women's division, but also so many talented wrestlers. And the way that they're able to weave the storytelling and the in-ring ability is better than most divisions in pro wrestling. I'm not going to say they are far and away the number one division, because I think there's a lot of competition when it comes to saying that. I mean, the top of the AEW men's roster is ridiculous. It is. I mean, it's Will Ospreay, it's Kenny Omega, it's Kazuchika Okada, it's Swerve Strickland. Like, that is obviously going to be up there and in the conversation for the top 3, no matter who you ask. The top of the men's division in WWE right now is crazy. We just talked about that triple threat earlier. You add on John Cena. You add on Randy Orton doing some phenomenal work right now in, year 20 for him? They're going to have something to be said as well about that. The AEW women's division, Mariah May, Timeless Toni Storm, whatever we're seeing with Megan Bayne right now, which is actually very, very good. They have another right to be able to be, or a claim, not a right. They have a claim to be in this conversation as well. But to me, from start to finish, top to bottom, the one that is right now the most entertaining, or second most entertaining, 1.1, is the NXT women's division. And I think that is in large part due to the entire locker room, the work that they do down there. You got to give credit where credit is due to Shawn Michaels as well for putting these women in positions to succeed and giving them the time and the spotlight to be able to show out. And they have. And that goes to them. But you also have to give it to Stephanie Vaquer. Because if you don't have the face of that division as dominant and hitting as often as she has, then it's not going to land correctly. It has landed correctly. She made history, and it has been a lot of fun watching the NXT women just show out every single night. NXT Vengeance Day, phenomenal. NXT Roadblock, phenomenal. Last night, the big night for Stephanie Vaquer, phenomenal. I would imagine that we are going to get nothing short of phenomenal at NXT Stand and Deliver. Let's close out this episode with a little discussion about who the top champions are in WWE right now. And let's keep it, for the purposes of this segment, strictly to the main roster. Because if we went all WWE and included NXT, I think Stephanie Vaquer would make the top 3. But let's go top 3 main roster. Now, this is not an easy list to make. And when you look at the list on paper that I have, yeah, you might say, yeah, well, you kind of tossed in the towel, gave the easy answers. But there is conversations to be had. I mean, you look at the new tag champs on SmackDown, Street Profits, for what they're going to do or what it feels like they're going to do. They might quickly get into this list, but it is fresh, so I can't put them in there. The mid-card titles in the women's division, both on Raw and on SmackDown. You got to give credit where credit is due. Chelsea Green has been phenomenal, and the more chances she gets in the ring to back up everything she's doing out of the ring, the more historic that United States title reign is going to be, because everything that she's doing outside the ring is A++ material. In the ring, she hasn't been given as many opportunities. There hasn't been as many challengers, and that's what I think is missing out of hers. She just needs more challengers. She needs more opportunities in ring to defend that belt. Lyra Valkyria is getting those opportunities on Raw as of late, and she's been doing a great job with it, so you got to give credit there. But when I'm looking at the top 3, and let's start with number 3 here, it's going to go to 1, the world titles, and 2, another title that is rapidly shooting up to the top of the card in every single event. At number 3 is one of the world titles, though, and that's Gunther. Now, he is somebody who has the capability to be at number 1 of this list for years on end. But this feud with Jey Uso has kind of I don't want to say ruined. It hasn't ruined Gunther's world title reign, but it's kind of killed the momentum. Kind of what I talked about yesterday. The momentum is definitely slowed a little bit. Now, part of that is timing because that's the only person that Gunther has been feuding with since the beginning of 2025. So we're going on 3 months. It's going to be nearly 4 months by the time this feud is over with and we get a payoff to this matchup. But outside of this feud with Jey Uso, which we'll get back to, he's been a dominant champion. He's been great as a champion. Rarely does Gunther have a bad match. And now that I think about it, I don't think he's had a bad match since he became World Heavyweight Champion. And that is including matches on Monday Night Raw with Akira Tozawa, which was a squash match. It was still a great match, and a match with Otis. And he is still, the one with Axiom was also very entertaining. He doesn't miss in the ring, and he's become so much better on the mic. He is excellent at this point on the mic. I would put him toe-to-toe with most on the roster outside of the Mike All-Stars, outside of the Drew McIntyres, who's on another level right now, the CM Punks, who's always on another level, the John Cenas, who, we'll get to that, has not been allowed to be on another level, and even the Cody Rhodes. Outside of them, I think Gunther can go toe-to-toe on any given day with anybody at all. And because of that, it feels like he is going to be, whether he loses at Mania and then has to come back at a different time and start a second world title reign or not, he is going to be one of the best champions the WWE has seen in quite some time. Now, the Jey Uso feud. It has kind of softened what Gunther has put together for his first world title reign in WWE. But, like I said, Gunther rarely has a bad match. And the biggest concern, for at least the people that are concerned, and it's a small portion of the fan base, but for the people that are concerned about Jey and performing at Mania, do you forget how good the match was between Gunther and Jey at Saturday night's main event in January? It was phenomenal. Do you forget that Jey Uso has put on bangers in the past? The tag match against Roman Reigns, phenomenal. The SummerSlam title match against Roman Reigns, phenomenal. Put him in a match with Gunther, it's going to be good. And all of the buildup, all of the consternation about the buildup is going to be forgotten about because the match at Mania is going to be great. Now, the lead up to Mania is the biggest downfall of this entire thing, but I think it finally took a turn on Monday. Going into Monday, I said this entire thing is losing momentum. I mean, the feuding with A-Town Down Under, the insertion of, the Alpha Squad, American Alpha, whatever you want, Alpha Academy, that's what it was. I keep mixing up them and Chad's new group, but Alpha Academy, I mean, it felt not like a world title feud heading into WrestleMania. But the insertion of Jimmy Uso, him entering the fray here, I think has saved the build for this. I'm not worried about the match. I've never been worried about the match, but bringing Jimmy Uso in, tying in the botches to nerves on Jey Uso's side, it feels like it's finally hitting that next level. It feels like it's finally starting to become a world title feud. If Gunther gets through Jey Uso at WrestleMania and they keep the belt on the ring general, he needs to start mowing down challengers. And that's what Post-Mania is for. Post-Mania is for quick turns. Match at Backlash. Next. Match at whatever the next pay-per-view after that will be. Next. Match at Clash in Paris. Next. That is what he needs to do if he gets through this. And if he does that, very quickly could he become number 2 or number 1. But as of right now, I have Gunther as my number 3 champion in WWE. Number 2, the person that has supplanted him because of the work that has been done over the last 2 weeks, it's Bron Breakker. And he is gaining ground rapidly on Cody Rhodes. I don't know if he'd ever be able to catch him, but he's certainly going to make it close the way that he's going right now. He is bringing that Intercontinental title back into the spotlight and restoring it to what it was when Gunther held it for all that time. Because once Gunther dropped it, yeah, Sammy's title reign was fine. And then it was bounced back and forth between Braun and Jimmy Bron, then Jay, then Bron again. And then Bron Breakker wasn't featured on PLEs. He wasn't featured on Monday Night Raw a lot. He wasn't wrestling a lot. He wasn't defending the title. And he said, oh no, the Intercontinental title is just, it's done. It's gone. Well, once again, it feels main event worthy. And why is that? Why does it feel main event worthy? Well, for one, because it actually has people gunning for the title. Right? The main event scene right now, yeah, everybody wanted it in the Royal Rumble. Everybody always wants it in the Royal Rumble. But it doesn't feel like anybody, at least champion-wise, has as many challengers lining up to take what they have, like Bron Breakker and his Intercontinental title. AJ Styles, at one point in this WrestleMania build, faced off, and they teased that matchup. Finn Balor, last week on the main event. Penta, this week in the main event. Sheamus, whenever he reemerges, what title is he going to go after? The Intercontinental Championship, because it's the only one he's never won. Ludwig Kaiser wants to get in on the Intercontinental Championship. Dom Mysterio is going to throw his hat in the ring for the Intercontinental Championship. There is so many people that are gunning for this title that it makes it feel important. That is something that WWE needs to hit Command C and then Command V on and make sure that they start doing it for some of these other championships. You've seen it a little bit with the Women's Intercontinental Championship now that we've gotten a couple of different people, whether it be Ivy Nile, whether it be Dakota Kai, whether it be Raquel Rodriguez. They're starting to get people to line up for that, and there's a lot of people lined up for this one. That's reason number one, is that there's a lot of people that want it. Reason number two is Bron Breakker is just that damn good. He is a great champion. He's been cutting great promos. He's been having great matches. And it doesn't feel like he's unbeatable, right? Because if he was unbeatable, that's one thing. But it feels like, yeah, there's a chance he beat Bron Breakker, but you have to be on your game. It can end at any moment, but at the same time, you trust that Bron Breakker, if there's a slip up in the least, he's going to be the one to take advantage. So while he doesn't feel like he is an unbeatable, unstoppable forces champion, he still feels dominant. It's a weird situation. It's a weird dichotomy, but it's one that I've thoroughly enjoyed, right? Because going into that match, yeah, you probably thought on Monday, something's going to happen. Judgment Day is going to get involved. But if they would have went straight up and had Penta win, would it have been the biggest surprise in the world? No, because Penta and Bron feel like they're on the same level. Finn Balor and Bron feel like they're on the same level. If they would have went AJ Styles versus Bron, which I called a dream match and I still think it is, they feel like they're on the same level. Sheamus, whenever he went up against Bron Breakker, it felt like they were on the same level. There's not an overpowered champion. There is a very good champion that you have to be on your P's and Q's. Otherwise, you're going to get blown out of the building. But it doesn't feel like he's unbeatable. And I think that is a huge part in all of this. Make it feel like there's a little bit of drama with his title defenses. And that's what we felt in the main event, no less, of the last two Monday Night Raws in a big spot, because it's not just random Monday Night Raws. It's two straight Monday Night Raws on the road to WrestleMania in front of European audiences. That's a huge, huge vote of confidence in Bron Breakker and everything since that triple threat match. Breakker versus Ludwig versus Sheamus. And I believe that was at Survivor Series or War Games or whatever it is. Survivor Series War Games. Since then, this title reign has gone from stagnant to light speed, and I've enjoyed every single moment of it. We're going to get a great matchup at WrestleMania, whether that's the Fatal 4-Way with Penta, Balor, and Mysterio, or maybe, just maybe, they come around to putting Styles and Paul into that matchup instead of having it a one-on-one. But again, that's just Dream Street. I know it's going to be Styles versus Paul at WrestleMania in I've been here all along, working my ass off to get here, and you just showed up feud. Sure, it works. I don't know how many times you can do that same feud with Logan Paul before it gets stale, but hey, anything AJ Styles does, I'm tuned in for. But I'm definitely going to be tuned in for everything that Bron Breakker in the Intercontinental Championship has in store for the next couple of weeks leading into WrestleMania. And at number one, this comes as no surprise, Some people don't like his title reign. To those people, I say, why? What more do you want out of his title reign? Current champion, number one champion in the WWE, the quarterback of WWE, self-proclaimed at least, Cody Rhodes. So he's going to be at number one. His run, as with any lengthy run, has had his peaks and valleys. Yeah, the Logan Paul matchup at King and Queen of the Ring was okay. US champ versus WWE champ, whatever. Good title defense, though. The Bloodline 2.0 feud had potential to be great. Ended up falling flat. The Crown Jewel Championship was, well, it was what it was. Yeah, it was okay. But it started with a bang with the AJ Styles feud. A great matchup at Backlash in Lyon, France. And then a great matchup in the I Quit match a little bit later after AJ pulled the Mark Henry fake retirement stuff. So his feud with AJ Styles was a really solid jumping off point for his title reign. But what you want out of your top champion is for them to create entertaining matchups, to win entertaining matchups, but once Mania season comes around, his best work comes out. And that's what we've seen. It started with the Kevin Owens feud. That wasn't really Mania season. That was what, October of last year during Bad Blood when that kicked off? The entire Kevin Owens feud was perfection. I loved every single moment of it, and it culminated in a ridiculously entertaining and ridiculously hard-hitting ladder match at the Royal Rumble. He retains, and now we're onto the road of WrestleMania after a A++ feud with Kevin Owens. And now we're getting this John Cena feud. This is a title reign defining matchup. Cody versus Cena. It could be the last, but if it's the last, it goes out with a bang. If it's not, then it is a tentpole moment in Cody Rhodes' first world title reign. The thing I will say about this, and I want to put my face back on the screen for this one if you're watching on YouTube, they need to take the kid gloves off really badly. You got to let John Cena punch back. I don't want to be the person that comes out and says that Cody Rhodes can't handle it, because I don't think that's the case. I think Cody can handle it. But I think as of right now, they are walking this down the street with John Cena not going after Cody Rhodes and preferring to unpack all the baggage that he has carried for 25 years towards the fans. Eventually, that has to snap. And we're running low on time right now. You have under 25 days till WrestleMania, and all we've heard from John Cena is how disappointed he is in the fans, how upset he is with the fans, how much he wants to break up with the fans, and he wants to ruin wrestling for the fans. And Cody Rhodes is coming out to defend the fans. At some point, Cody needs to go off on John Cena for what he did at Elimination Chamber, and John Cena has to turn his target to Cody Rhodes. You got to take the kid gloves off. I understand this new John Cena is supposed to be not giving anything to wrestling fans, right? He's not getting you new gear. He's not giving you new music. Shoot, he's not giving you those viral moments when he cooks people on the mic. But that's what this feud needs. This feud needs John Cena to snap and to go after Cody Rhodes on the mic the way that we know John Cena can. And I understand. Listen, you want your babyface to look like the guy that wins on the mic, and he has for 2 weeks. It's time. London, England. Kid gloves need to come off. John Cena needs to take his focus off of the however many thousands of people that'll be in the O2 Arena, and he needs to focus it in on one person, and that's the WWE Champion, Cody Rhodes. It needs to evolve, this storyline. I've liked the 2 promos that John Cena has cut against the fans. It makes sense. It flows. He's obviously still great on the mic. Go after the guy that you're going to go after on WrestleMania night 1, because the kid from Brussels, I mean, he might be, but most of the people that were in Brussels aren't going to be there in Vegas. Most of the people that were there in Scotland aren't going to be there in Vegas. It's a new audience every time, and I understand it is the collective, the royal you people is what John Cena is throwing out there. But eventually, for the entertainment of all, he has to go in after Cody Rhodes. And maybe I'm walking right into what he wants. Maybe me saying this is him saying, yeah, that's what you want. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. But it's what is needed in this one. All in all, Cody Rhodes has been a great champion. He's always in action. He's done some solid storytelling as champion, even when the story at his feet isn't great. I think there were parts of that Bloodline 2.0 story that were done very well. But I think all in all, it fell a little flatter than they wanted it to. But he feels, and that is why he's number one, he feels like he is the superhero of WWE. And that is not, to quote Sam Roberts of Not Sam Wrestling, that is never shown more than when he is opposed to a supervillain. That's what he said. And right now, John Cena is a supervillain. Cody Rhodes looks great, but I just want a little bit more out of heel Cena. Is that too much to ask? John, I know we've asked a lot of you for 25 years, but is that too much to ask going into WrestleMania that you actually fight back on the mic against the person you're actually going to be fighting against? That's where I stand with. But all in all, still very entertaining, still very excited for what we're going to see on April 20th. So that's my top three right now. Top three current champions in WWE. Number 3 is the world's heavyweight champion, Gunther. Number 2 is the Intercontinental Champion, Bron Breakker. And number 1 is the American Nightmare himself, Cody Rhodes. Let me know in the comment section who your top 3 current champions are on the main roster in WWE. But that's going to do it for this episode of Bell to Bell. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this one. Remember, you can like, share, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Nick Belsky if you enjoy our content, or if you prefer the audio version, you can find it on Spotify at Bell to Bell. That's it for this one. We'll see you guys next week.